Hello students. So we will study the chapter cell structure and function. In the lecture 3, we will study like the different parts of the cell and cell life cycle. Okay. So already we have studied different types of cell like prokaryotic and eukaryotic, unicellular, multicellular. Now we will study different parts also. First, that is the ribosome. Here, this in this picture you can see. Let me take the pointer first. So ribosome. This one is our ribosome. This is the ribosome, and this is for protein synthesis and are composed of proteins and ribonucleic acid. So it is composed of one thing is the protein we have, and another thing is that that is the ribonucleic acids. Okay, so this ribosome, here you can see ribosome, and it is used for that main purpose, main function is that the protein synthesis, and it is composed of proteins and ribonucleic acids. Now, next is the mitochondria. And this is the powerhouse of the cell. This is powerhouse of the cell. Mitochondria. And this is double membrane. Here you can see that double membrane bound sausage shaped organelle. This is sausage shaped organelle, and double membrane you have here. So here you can see that double membrane you have one is the this one is the intermembrane, this one is the intermembrane space, and this one is the outer membrane. Okay, so this is double membrane bound sausage shaped organelle, and this is you have intermembrane and the outer membrane also. And this mitochondria, this will do the aerobic respiration in the cell, and it produces the energy in the form of ATP. It produces the energy in the form of ATP. So mitochondria, it is double membrane bound sausage shaped the organelle, and it is the powerhouse of the cell, and it is used for the main function of the mitochondria is the aerobic respiration in the cell, and it produces the ATP. It produces the ATP energy in the form of the ATP. And here you can see that double membrane is there. One is the intermembrane, another is the outer membrane. And this mitochondria is absent in the prokaryotic cell, whereas in the eukaryotic cell, the mitochondria is present. Always you have to remember this thing. Eukaryotic cell, that means there is mitochondria. Prokaryotic cell, there is no mitochondria. Okay? Next, this is the nucleus. Now, nucleus, this is generally spherical. This is the nucleus. And this is spherical and located just at the center of cell. And the nucleus that is separated from cytoplasm by a membrane, that is called nuclear membrane. So this is the cell, and here you have some nucleus, and this nucleus is separated by some membrane. Just a minute. Here it is separated from the cell cytoplasm. So here you have this is the nucleus. Okay. This is the nucleus, and this one Cytoplasm, you have cytoplasm, that is the jelly like fluid you have, and this is the nucleus, and this is separated by from the cytoplasm by the nuclear membrane, by the nuclear membrane. Okay. Now, it uses the information of chromosomes to decide what each organelle should do and the function of the cell. So, main nucleus, this is very important because it decides many functions of the cell, and it will decide what are the different organelles you have. There are several organelles we have, and these organelles, what organelle should do which one, that will be decided by the chromosomes, and this uses the information. The nucleus contains an even smaller concentrated material that is called nucleus. Here you can see this one concentrated. Here you can see this concentrated material, that is called nucleus, that is called nucleolus, that is called nucleolus, that is called nucleolus. Okay. Now the chromosome. So chromosome, this is the chromosome. You can see this is like thread-like. This is thread-like structure. Thread-like structure, and it is the chromosome. And this chromosome carry the genes and help to inheritance or transfer of characteristics from parent to the child, parent to the offspring or the child. So it carries this chromosome, it carries the genes, and these genes, this help for to carry the different characters from the parents to the offspring. Offspring means child. Okay. Now chromosomes, these are composed of DNA. These are composed of DNA in the form of chromatin, and protein. And chromosomes contain information from the inheritance of features from the parents to the next generation in the form of DNA molecules. You know that if they are DNA molecules. So in this chromosome, these are the DNA here. This is the DNA. Now here you can see that this is the DNA. Here you can see that the chromosome that contain the information for the inheritance features of from parent to next generation, and in the form of DNA molecules. So that is the chromosome. Now the DNA. So DNA molecules that contain the information necessary for constructing and organizing the cells, and the functional segments of the DNA called the genes. Here you can see this is the structure of the DNA, and here you can sugar phosphate backbone you have, and base pair you have here, and nitrogenous bases are there. So this is the DNA, and main thing is that it contains the information necessary for the construction and organization of the cells. Okay. Now the vacuoles. Okay, so vacuoles and endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus, these are the different parts of the cell. Now vacuoles, Golgi apparatus already we have discussed, endoplasmic reticulum also we have discussed. Now the vacuoles, here in this picture you can see that this is the vacuole. This one is the vacuole. And this vacuole, these are storage bubbles of irregular shape which are found in the cell. This is storage bubbles. These are the storage bubbles. And the vacuole stores the food, a variety of nutrients that a cell might need to survive or burst. So, main thing, storage bubbles, that means it will store the food or nutrients that is required by the cell to survive. And in plant cell, vacuoles are much larger than the animal cells, and they provide rigidity to the plant cells. So in plant cells, vacuoles are much larger than the animal cells. Now the endoplasmic reticulum. So endoplasmic reticulum, here you can see that endoplasmic reticulum. This is a membranous organelle and it is found in the eukaryotic cell, and the ER is divided into the endoplasmic reticulum. This is divided into the smooth and rough endoplasmic reticulum. Smooth, and here you can see that smooth endoplasmic reticulum and also rough endoplasmic reticulum. Here you can see the rough endoplasmic reticulum. These are the rough endoplasmic reticulum and these are the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Okay. Now the lysosome. Lysosome, these are known as the suicidal bags, that because they possess the hydrolytic enzymes to digest the protein, lipids, carbohydrate and nucleic acid, and they are called suicidal bags. Suicidal bags. The lysosome, this one, lysosome, this one, these lysosome, these are called the suicidal bags because they possess the hydrolytic enzymes to digest the protein, lipids and carbohydrates and nucleic acid. So this is the lysosome. Now the plastids. These are double membrane structure and found in the plant cell. Found in the plant cell. And there are three types. One is the chloroplast, chromoplast, leucoplast. Right? And chromoplast, that contains the chlorophyll. The name, from the name we can understand that it contains the chlorophyll and is involved in photosynthesis. And chromoplast, that contains the pigment called the carotene, and that provides the plants yellow, red or orange colors. So here you can see that the chloroplast, this is the chloroplast, this is the chromoplast. So chloroplast that contain the chlorophyll and is involved in the photosynthesis. Chromoplast, this contains a pigment called the carotene and that provides the plants yellow, red or orange color. Another thing, that is the leucoplast. This is the leucoplast. Leucoplast, they are colorless and store oils, fats, carbohydrates, proteins. So they store oil, fats, carbohydrates and proteins. So these are the main types of the plants plastids. Now the eukaryotic cell cycle. Eukaryotic cell cycle. So eukaryotic cell cycle, here these cells divide during the cell cycle. Okay. Now life cycle, that means another cell will be produced. Here the cell passes through different stages during this cycle and there are various checkpoints between each stage. Like you can see that in the cell cycle you have prophase and then you have chromatophase and metaphase, anaphase, telophase, cytokinesis. So G1, G2. So there are different phases are there and we'll discuss this at all. So eukaryotic cell cycle, first thing is that these eukaryotic cells that divide during this cell cycle. It will divide during this cell cycle. Here you can see one thing, this is a one cell and here at that time you can see that there are two daughter cells will be produced. There are two daughter cell will be reproduced. Okay. Now the first thing is the G0 phase and this is known as resting phase. Or quiescence. Now this cell does not divide during this stage, that is the G0 phase. This is the G0 phase. And here the cell cycle starts at this stage. The first cycle, that is the G0 phase, and the cell cycle that starts from this stage, and the cells of the liver, kidney, neurons, stomach all reach this stage and can remain there for longer period. So the cells of liver, kidney, neuron, stomach, so these all reach this stage. So this is G0, this is the resting stage, resting phase, and this stage is always, this is the starting of the cycle. Okay, and many cells do not enter this stage and divide indefinitely throughout their lives. So here you can see that from G0, then this is the stage, then they will do the rest of the things. They will proceed from the mitosis cell division. After that, they are going for the mitosis cell division. Okay, so G0 or quiescence, this is the resting phase of the life cell life cycle. Now interphase. Okay, so in this stage the cells grow and take in nutrients to prepare them the division. So before division it should take nutrients, because in the reproduction we require a lot of energy, so the cell will grow and take the nutrients to prepare them for the division, and it consists of 3 checkpoints. So the interphase, it consists of 3 checkpoints. First one is the G1. Here the cell enlarged. Here the cell enlarged and the proteins also increase. Then this is the synthesis. DNA replication takes place in this phase. Then next is the G2. Next is the G2. The cells enlarge further to undergo mitotic division. Further to undergo the mitotic division. So first thing what we have studied in the interphase. In the interphase, we have 3 checkpoints. First one is the gap 1 or G1. Here the cell will be enlarged and it takes the protein also increased. So the cell will be enlarged. Cell enlarges and protein also increases. And S is the synthesis phase. Here the DNA replication takes place. DNA replication takes place. And gap 2 or G2, in this, again it will be enlarged further to undergo the mitotic division. For the mitotic division, again it will be enlarged. Again it will be enlarged. So this is the gap 2. Fine. So these 3 we understood. Now mitosis. Now mitosis involves the following stages: prophase, promatophase, metaphase, anaphase, telophase, and cytokinesis. Right? So what happens here? You see the picture, so it will be very clear for you. So first is the interphase. Here you can see that, and this is the prophase where there are 2 chromosomes, and metaphase you can see that it has been enlarged again, and here you can see that in a phase there is a, due to the division, for the division there is a bulging here, and there is a bulging here, and there is a partition they are just going to make. And here you can see that from here you have 4. Now these are the daughter cells, that is the telophase. Okay, so daughter cells that will be reproduced, that is the telophase. So prophase, this is the interphase, this is interphase, this is the interphase, and this one is the prophase, this one is the metaphase and anaphase, and then this is the telophase. Okay. Now the different examples of the eukaryotic cell. We have eukaryotic cell in plants, animals, fungi, protozoa, and there are lots of examples. In the plant cells, we can see the eukaryotic cell. Here, it is the cell wall is made up of cellulose. The cell wall that is made up of cellulose. And that cell wall, the main function of cell wall is what? The main function of cell wall, that it provides the support to the plant, and here it has some large vacuole. In the vacuole, what happens? The food will be stored, right? It is the storage bag. And here you can see that the plant cell that contains the chloroplast, which aids the process of photosynthesis, because it requires some chlorophyll, and the chlorophyll will be inside the chloroplast. Chloroplast, that is the plastid. So the plant cell that contains, in the plant cell we have the plastid, and which type of plastid we have? We have the chloroplast. We have the chloroplast, and in the chloroplast we have the chlorophyll, and that will help for the photosynthesis. This is one ingredient of the photosynthesis process. Now the fungal cell. The cell wall is made of chitin. Here the cell wall is made of chitin. And some fungi have holes known as the septa, which allow the organelles and cytoplasm to pass through them. Here there is some septum also. It can have some septum. So here it has been shown the plant cell, also the fungal cell. Now the animal cells. Here they do not have any cell walls. Here you can see that this is the cell, and here you have the cell membrane, but it does not have any cell wall, and cell membrane is there. And why animals have varied shape? Because there are some cell membrane, there is no cell wall. That's why varied shape can be there, and they have the ability to perform the phagocytosis and pinocytosis. They have the ability to perform the phagocytosis and pinocytosis. Okay, so this is the structure of the animal cell. It has the nucleus, ribosome, mitochondria, cytoplasm, but the cell wall, there is no cell wall. There is no cell wall. Now the protozoa. Protozoa, these are the unicellular organisms. These are unicellular organisms. And these some protozoa, they have the cilia. They have the cilia for the locomotion. For the locomotion, they have the some cilia. Okay, a thin layer called a pellicle. Here you can see this is the pellicle. This is the pellicle. This layer is the pellicle that provides the support to the cell. So in case of protozoa, we can see the cilia, which helps for the locomotion, and we can see the pellicle, which provide, this is a thin layer which provides the supports to the cell. Now the different cell organs. Here there is a gist here. Nucleus. The nucleus is the site of ribosome synthesis, and it involves in the controlling of cellular activity, cellular reproduction. Nuclear membrane, obviously it protects the nucleus. Chromosome. The chromosome play a crucial role in determining the sex of an individual. In the human cell, we contain 46 number of chromosome. That means 23 pairs of chromosome we have. And endoplasmic reticulum, this is involved for the transportation of substances throughout the cell. And main thing is the metabolism of carbohydrates, synthesis of lipids, steroids, proteins, it will do. Golgi bodies, these are called the cell's post office, because it involves for the transportation of material within the cell. So it is called the cell's post office, because it transports the materials within the cell. And ribosomes that are used for the protein synthesizers. These are called the protein synthesizers of the cell. Mitochondria, this is the powerhouse of the cell, and it will generate the ATP, and it produces the ATP and the cell's energy currency. Lysosome, mitochondria, then lysosome. Lysosome protect the cell by engulfing the foreign bodies entering the cell and help in cell renewal. So they are known as the cell suicidal bags. Now chloroplast, this is a plastid where we have the chlorophyll, and for the photosynthesis we require the chlorophyll. Vacuoles, these are the food storage bag, and here it will store food, water and other waste materials of the cell. Now the cell theory. The cell theory first proposed by German scientists Theodor Schwann, Matthias Schleiden and Rudolf Virchow. The cell theory states that all living species on earth are composed of cells. A cell is basic unit of life. A cell arises from pre-existing cells. The cell cannot be arrived. That means there is some pre-existing cell after reproduction. So, due to the reproduction, all cells arise from pre-existing cells. Okay. Now, a modern version of the cell theory. In the modern version of the cell theory, what it says, just a minute, it says the energy flows within cell and genetic information is passed on from one cell to the other. And this genetic information that passed from one cell to another due to the DNA, because in the eukaryotic cell we have seen that we have the nucleus and that we have the DNA that carries the information, and the chemical composition of all cells are same. The chemical composition of all the cells is the same. Okay, so these are the modern versions of the cell theory. Now the functions of the cell. First, we know that the cell wall we have and cell membrane also. Cell membrane also. So these two that provide the support and structure. And in case of eukaryotic cell, all the organelles, they have the membranes. All the organelles, they have the membranes. So all this cell wall or cell membrane that provides the support and structure. Next is that all the organisms are made up of cell, because cell is the fundamental block. Cell is the fundamental block of living organism. Okay. So we can say that all the organisms are made up of cells, and they form the structural basis of all the organism. The cell wall, cell membrane are main components which gives the protection and support and structure. Just a minute. The cell wall and cell membrane that provide the support and the structure to the organism. And skin that is made up of large number of cells, and xylem also of the plant that is also the plant that is also made up of cells that provide the structural support to the plant. Okay, so these are all functions. That means it will provide the structural and it will provide the structural support, and it is the main component or main fundamental block of the living organism. And another thing that it will do, that is that facilitate the growth mitosis. So in the mitosis already we have seen the parent cell from this we can, that will be divided and two daughter cell will be created. Okay, so this is the mitosis, and cell that facilitates the growth of with the help of the mitosis, and the cells multiply and facilitate the growth in an organism. Now it allows the transport of substance. So whatever the food you are taking, there is a vacuoles in the cells. That vacuoles is the storage. This is the storage section, and it stored the food and water and now various nutrients also that are imported by the cells to carry out various chemical processing, and also the waste produced by the chemical process is eliminated from the cells by active and passive transport. So there is a process transport. So, and incoming, we have seen some incoming and outgoing, also incoming and outgoing transport, incoming and outgoing transport there. So the incoming transport just to take the nutrients which helps the cells to do the work function, and after chemical process, if there is any waste, that will be taken out, and that will be taken out by the outgoing transport. Okay. Now small molecules such as oxygen, carbon dioxide, ethanol and ethanol that diffuse across the cell membrane along the concentration gradient. Along the concentration gradient, and this is known as passive transport. So passive transport, using the passive transport, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide, ethanol, all these will move inside the cell using the cell membrane, using the process diffusion, and the larger molecules that diffuse across the cell membrane through the active transport. So from the passive transport, this will be transported, and active transport, the cells require a lot of energy to transport the substances. So the larger molecules that diffuse across the cell membrane through active transport. Now the energy production cell also, that is another function of the cell, that is the energy production. That means the ATP for the plant. ATP for the plant, and this energy is produced by the cell through a process that is called photosynthesis. Photosynthesis in plants and respiration in animals. So respiration in animals. So for the photosynthesis process, this energy will be photosynthesis process of the plant. The energy will be created, energy will be produced by using, this is the main function of the cell, and the respiration, this is the process through which the cell produces the energy in the animals. So energy in the animals, all that will produce the energy. Now the aids in reproduction. So the mitosis and meiosis, these are the two methods where from the parent cell we can create the daughter cell. The daughter cell, the cells are creating the daughter cell, and this mitosis is a asexual reproduction where the parent cell divides to form the daughter cell, where meiosis causes the daughter cells to be genetically different from the parent cell. So that means the cell aids in reproduction through the process mitosis or meiosis. Now these are the eukaryotic and prokaryotic cells. So now we are able to tell a lot of things regarding the eukaryotic and prokaryotic cell, and prokaryote or eukaryote. Here you can see that in the prokaryote, mitochondria, this is absent, mitochondria is absent here, and there is no nucleus, and instead of nucleus we have what? That is the nucleus, and there is a capsule that prokaryotes you have. Flagellum we have for the movement. Cell membrane, this is present for both the prokaryote and eukaryote cell, and cell walls, this is present in the prokaryote, and here you can see some ribosomes also. Okay, so this is the pictorial figure for the eukaryote and prokaryote cell. Now the plants and versus the animal cells, if we compare, first thing, the plant cell and animal cell, first thing, that is the cell wall. Just a minute. Cell wall. Yes, plant cell, it has the cell wall, animal, no. Cell membrane, both of them have. Cytoplasm, both of them have. Nucleus, both of them have. Chloroplast, we have in the plant cell because they are doing the photosynthesis. In the animal cell, the energy will be produced by the respiration. There is no chloroplast there. Vacuole, yes, both of them, we have the vacuole. Now, if there will be some questions like that, what is the cell? What is the cell at that time? This type of questions may come in our examination. So we will try to solve this type of questions. Okay. So here, let me first take let's change the pen color. Okay. Now, first is what is cell. So we can write down cell is the basic unit of life and it mainly comprises of nucleus, cytoplasm and cell membrane. And there are several other organelles inside the cell. So here cell, what is cell? Cell is a basic unit of life and it comprises of nucleus, cytoplasm, and cell membrane, and there are several organelles. There are several organelles we have inside the cell. Okay. Next question may be, what are the other important organelles of the cell? So other important organelles, that is ribosome, we can give endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, and we can have also chloroplast, we can have also coloplast, we can have mitochondria. Just a minute. Just a minute. We can have chloroplast, mitochondria, and these are the etc. Okay. And what is study and research of cell called? The study or cells and cell biology is called a cytology. It is called a cytology. Next, an eukaryotic cells, unicellular or multicellular. Eukaryotic cells, the eukaryotic cells may be unicellular or multicellular. Okay, unicellular or multicellular. You can give the examples also. Plants and animals are multicellular eukaryote. So here you can write down plants and animals. Plants and animals are multicellular eukaryotes. Okay, but if you see the paramecium, euglena, at that time those are unicellular eukaryotes. So you can give the example of that thing also. The paramecium is unicellular eukaryotes. Now, what is the most important characteristics of eukaryotic cells that distinguishes it from prokaryotic cell? So one thing is very important, that eukaryotic cells has the eukaryotic cells These have a membrane bound nucleus. Membrane bound nucleus. Okay, where prokaryotic, it does not have the membrane bound nucleus, and they do not have at all the nucleus. Okay, so this is the main difference. Now, are the virus eukaryotes? Viruses are neither eukaryotes nor prokaryotes. Since viruses are a link between living and non-living, they are not considered in either category. No. So you can write down here, no, viruses are not eukaryotes or prokaryotes. Because they are in between the living and non-living organism. And what are the salient features of eukaryotic cell? So what are the salient features of eukaryotic cell? You can write down that the eukaryotic cell, it has a nuclear membrane. So number one, we can write down it has nuclear membrane. Then it has mitochondria. It has mitochondria, Golgi bodies, cell wall, and it has also locomotory organs such as cilia and flagella. So it has cilia and flagella and flagella. And nucleus has DNA that carries the all genetic information. So this will be the salient features. Okay. Next, how does a eukaryotic cell divide? The eukaryotic cell may be divided using the mitosis process, and it undergoes what are the different process? So eukaryotic cell divides by the mitosis process. And in the mitosis, we have different process, different stages of mitosis. Stages of mitosis are first is the prophase, then next one is the metaphase, next is our anaphase. Already we have seen all the phases. Anaphase, then there is a telophase, and there is a cytokinesis. Okay, when did the first eukaryotic cell evolve? Already this question we have answered. It is 2 billion years ago. 3 million years ago, it has run the prokaryotic cell. So eukaryotic cell, it is prokaryotic cell. It is 2 billion years ago, and first eukaryotic cell evolved. Okay, and here this is explained in the endosymbiotic theory that explains the origin of eukaryotic cells by prokaryotic organism. What is the evidence for endosymbiotic theory? Okay, what is the evidence? The first evidence of sorry, first evidence, the first evidence in support of endosymbiotic theory is that mitochondria and and chloroplast have their own DNA, have their own DNA, and the DNA is similar to, and the DNA is similar to the bacterial DNA. Bacterial DNA. Okay, so this was the evidence of endosymbiotic theory. Okay, next the plant cell and animal cell. Here you can see the difference between plant cell and animal cell. There are so many cell walls we have in the plant cell, we do not have in the animal cell. So there may be some questions also like this. Just a minute. There may be some questions. Write the difference between plant cell and animal cell. Okay, so if with diagram, then this diagram you have to put. Then if the difference is only they are asking at that time, first we are discussing cell shape. Here you have the plant cell square or rectangular, square or rectangular in shape, and irregular or round shape animal cell. Cell wall present, cell wall absent here, and plasma or cell membrane. This is present in the plant cell and present in the animal cell also. Okay, so we'll discuss this difference elaborately in the next lecture. Till then, thank you all.